What's going on YouTube? This is the Boxing Theories, and this is my post-fight reaction to the Lemieux versus Benavidez fight. To get right into it, Benavidez put on a spectacular performance tonight where he showed little flaws, and Lemieux tried his best and he showed toughness. I will give him that. But the pressure coming from Benavidez was just too much for him, all right? And the fact that Benavidez is younger, and I've actually predicted all of this in my last video where I stated that I believe that David Benavidez would eventually get Lemieux up out of there due to the constant pressure that he applies, the educated pressure that he applies to his opponents, all right? And to break down some of what happened, first and foremost, I would like to say that this fight only lasted 3 rounds, where the first round started out by Benavidez fighting on his back foot and David Lemieux working his way inside behind a pretty good jab, all right? And he was able to land some hard, clean shots on Benavidez because we all know that Benavidez doesn't really move his head, and he stands in front of his opponent, shelling up with behind a high guard, you know. So Lemieux was able to get some shots off on Benavidez in the beginning of round one, all right, to the midpoint. And towards the end of the round, that's when Benavidez started to turn the fight around, where he was able to he actually started to put Lemieux on his back foot, all right, where he managed to catch Lemieux with the clean left hook. And that sent Lemieux right going back to the corner of the ropes. And Benavidez just started to do what he does best, which is to unload. He was unloading a lot of combinations, man. I mean, a barrage of punches to where, and it was actually within 10 seconds of the first round, the last 10. Dude, when I tell you that I thought the ref had to stop that fight right then and there, man, Lemieux looked like he was bound to go out at any second. So the round ended up, he ended up surviving that round, and they went back to the corners in round two. Benavidez started to gain some confidence, and he started to press forward, would occasionally fight on his back foot again. And actually, David Lemieux was able to land some shots in round two as well. He was landing some good hooks and some good straight shots, penetrating the guard of Benavidez. But Benavidez once again caught him and hurt him in the second round as well. If I'm not mistaken, he got hurt or dropped in every single round. And Benavidez took that round. He was controlling that round the entire time. And in rounds three, that's when Benavidez worked his way to a stoppage. So to get into the specifics as far as what each fighter did well and didn't do well, I'll start out with Benavidez. First off, Benavidez had a powerful, stiff jab that he was working behind the entire time. Even, from rounds 1 all the way up until 3, he was probing that jab out there the entire time. And he was also throwing a lot of straight rights to the body behind the jab as well. So he would mix up his attack from the head to the body, all right? And Benavidez was also picking the right shots to throw against Lemieux. He had a good punch selection. Excellent. He was also parrying and blocking shots well, and we all know, like I've mentioned, Benavidez doesn't move his head, but damn it, that hard guard defense of his, he keeps that hard guard real tight to his face, and he covers up very well. So that's his strong suit. Not every fighter is elusive with their upper body movement. But with that being said, Benavidez was actually showcasing good lower body movement by being on his back foot, which he doesn't do as much. I'm used to seeing Benavidez press forward, but he showed a different wrinkle. And he also was throwing fast and powerful combinations, I mean, he was, like I've mentioned, his shot selection was superb, and his foot placement, as far as him gaining more leverage on his shots, he knew exactly where to be to land some good, clean shots on Lemieux that hurt him over and over and over and over. So Benavidez was also able to take some hard shots from Lemieux, because as I've said, Lemieux was able to get some shots off, man. But we all know that Benavidez has a durable chin, and he could take some clean shots, so he can afford to do that. And also, He started to apply pressure to Lemieux after he had him hurt, so he stepped up his level of aggression, which I like to see from fighters, you know? Try to get him out of there if you can. And he was able to beat Lemieux at his own game on the inside because obviously Lemieux being the shorter guy, he has to work his way inside. And Benavidez, being a bigger man, was able to impose his will and his physicality on Lemieux, especially after he had him hurt. So, as far as the negatives for Benavidez, I found him to be putting his back against the ropes way too much for me. I felt like, against a smaller guy and a power puncher and a combination puncher like Lemieux, I feel as though you should keep the fight in the middle of the ring and don't give the guy what he needs in order to be effective. Now, to get into Lemieux, Lemieux showed toughness by not being afraid to let his hands go. All right, I'll give him that because most guys would crash under pressure, and they'll just eventually just shell up and let their opponent tee off on them. Because offense could be a form of defense as well when you're at least giving somebody something to have to look out for so that they're not getting their combinations off as easy. So that's a true statement. And he also worked his way inside behind using his jab as well. And he also showed some durability, but it just wasn't good enough because he was getting hit way too much. I mean, as far as and this leads right into my next point as far as his negatives are concerned. The negatives with Lemieux was that he had a loose high guard defense that was penetrated by Benavidez over and over again. All right. And he didn't move his head to avoid some of those shots, to take some pressure and to roll some shots off, like what Cota did against Gomez in the undercard with David Benavidez and Lemieux. All right. And also, Lemieux placed himself on the ropes where he shouldn't have been either. The last place you want to be, especially when you're worn down, is against the ropes, against the bigger, powerful, speed combination puncher in Benavidez. You want to use lateral movement. You don't want to stand in front of the guy either. That was another negative that I've noticed. I felt as though even though Lemieux was able to work his way in a straight line, you still want to be careful with that and give yourself some angles so that you're not just standing in front of the big man and taking punishment while also dishing it. So that's really all I have to say. I would like to hear what you guys think about everything I've stated, all right? And what you guys thought about the fight. Please like, share, and subscribe. And, comment below what you guys think. I would like to know. Peace.